All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start. Good morning, everybody. So if you don't know me, my name is Kyle. I'm one of the coaches here with the X Project virtual team. So today I want to talk a little bit about self-alarms, but that falls down from the category of self-awareness. So self-awareness is knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses, and knowing how to capitalize on both. So knowing what you're really good at and doubling down on that, and then knowing what you're not so good at and getting the support system behind you to help you do better with those things. So for example, it could be, you're really good at sticking to your workout, so you double down and you work out, you work out, you work out. On the contrary, you could be slacking in meal planning or knowing what to eat, so you reach out and find a support system. It's not lying to yourself and pretending like you're good at something, even though you know you're not. So it's asking yourself these questions to develop self-awareness in the sense of health and fitness. So knowing that you've never worked out before, if you're aware and self-aware, you know that you can't just jump in and do any random thing for any amount of time for any time period and see any kind of significant long-term results. And then again, with like nutrition, for example, you can't just jump in and think you know what you're doing and then blindly go about following a meal plan you found online. It's being aware enough to know that, okay, I don't know much about nutrition, so let me get some help behind me so I can have a more successful game plan. So self-awareness is a huge part of understanding yourself, and not only when it comes to health and fitness, but your long-term goals and what's going to keep you going, and just knowing how to be successful in the long term. And especially when you're beginning, it's very easy to tell yourself the, not the truth, but the blind truth. So give yourself the benefit of the doubt more often than not. So a lot of times these come up in sayings of, well, I could do this, but I think I can do this a little bit better. Or, well, if I do this, if I eat this cake now, it work out, then the cake doesn't count, things like that. So it's just this misjudgment of knowing yourself and knowing your strengths. So playing to your strengths again, and then finding a support system that's going to bring up and balance out your weaknesses to make you a better rounded person and more healthy and fit person, which is specifically what we're talking about today. So part of being self-aware, and especially when it comes to health and fitness again, is making conscious choices. So are you blindly going throughout your day, especially when it comes to eating? So that happens a lot. So a lot of times we're just eating and we don't even understand that we're eating. Half the times it's like a fog, so they call it fog eating. So you're eating and you're just standing in the pantry literally and snacking on things for no apparent reason other than you're in the pantry. Maybe you're in the pantry to get something that wasn't even food related, and now here you are eating a cupcake. So do you make self-conscious decisions, or are you just blindly following the workout? So are you just doing the workout that's written for you, customized for you, or do you know why you're doing the workout? So it's important to ask yourself, it is very, can be as basic as asking yourself, why am I doing this before I do whatever action that may be? So whether it's literally you're standing there with a candy bar in your hair and you say, why am I going to eat this? Well, is it because I'm hungry, or is it because I'm bored, or is it because I'm stressed? So little simply asking yourself why before any of the thousands of decisions you make in a day can help you develop more self-awareness. And when you ask yourself why, you answer it, and the answer should be something that's going to positively impact yourself and your day. So if I'm standing there about to eat a candy bar, I say, well, why am I going to eat this? And I just think to myself, well, I'm just bored, or I'm stressed, or whatever it may be, then there's no apparent need for me to have that right then and there. It might superficially take my mind off of the moment and then make me think that it feels good and tastes good, but then always think of it in terms of, how's it not going to make you feel right now, but how's it going to make you feel the next day? So are you going to have guilt? Are you going to have shame? Are you going to feel bad about, excuse me, eating that candy bar? And if so, then there's no point in you doing it. Or you have to be self-aware enough to know that I can have this candy bar and I know how it fits into my day. I know why I'm eating it, because maybe you want it or you need it or you've been craving it. And this one piece of candy will prevent you from binge eating or overeating or whatever it may be. So putting a context and a reasoning behind what you're doing is super important. And also will help you build better self-awareness. So everything you should do should have a purpose. So it should make you better, happy, and healthy. So if it's not making you better, if it's not making you happy, if it's not making you healthy, then chances are you don't really need it. And it goes for a lot of things. So it goes for even your workouts. Like there should be a level of enjoyment that you have with them. You shouldn't dread them every day. You should ask yourself, so why am I working out today? I'm working out to get better for whatever it may be, whatever your big why is, and asking yourself those questions and saying with your coach, hopefully asking them, why am I working out today? What's my purpose of this workout? And that gives you some self-awareness as to what your goal is to accomplish for that specific workout. Are you supposed to work on technique and form? Are you supposed to try to sweat as much as possible and just sweat the day away? So a lot of times it can be simply that, like you're just working out to get rid of the stress of the day and be fresh and the best person you can possibly be for the day. So how can we improve it? So set intentions, ask yourself questions all day long, have an internal dialogue about every decision you're making. So asking yourself again, physically, mentally, is it going to make me better? Not just immediately, but in the long term. So physically, mentally, is this going to help me or hurt me 7 days from now, 14 days from now, whatever it may be? And a lot of the decisions aren't that impactful. It may not seem like eating a piece of candy. It's not going to have a huge impact on you 7 or 14 days from now, but the decision making process will. So if you're constantly allowing yourself to go through that mindless eating, that just builds and builds and builds. And it's a habit that is harder to break in the long term when we're building these super healthy habits and building your new lifestyle, essentially. So, along with self awareness relating to you and your just starting out in health and fitness, or you've been doing it for a long time, there's something that happens that makes you fall off of your daily habit of being healthy and starting and being healthy daily. So, whatever it may be. And these are what we like to call self alarms. So, self alarms are things that happen to you that make you know you're slipping and falling out of place with your routine. So, they're often really small things that it might not seem like a big deal, but we can use them to prevent a long term break or a long term delay or a major setback in your health and fitness. So, it could be something like you miss 3 workouts in a row, you miss your daily weigh-in, you start eating completely different than you have been eating for a certain amount of days in a row, but they're so maybe you miss 1 workout and you're thinking to yourself, oh, it's no big deal. I'll get back on tomorrow. And then tomorrow you're like, well, it's just one more day. And then you just keep building up, and you're creating this habit of not working out. And the longer you go without it, it's much harder to get back onto it. So rebuilding that habit is much harder than starting and continuing the habit per se. So finding these little warning signs. So whether it's with yourself, if you're super self-aware and you know that you have, if I miss 2 days of working out, I know I'm slipping. Or if I don't weigh in 3 days in a row, or if I don't contact my coach for whatever it may be, a determined time period. So if you're self-aware enough to know that, then the next thing you would do is find the solution. But most of us are not self-aware enough to know when we're slipping. We very often give ourselves the benefit of the doubt. So you're tired, you're stressed from work, or you always say, well, I'll get back on it the next day. And we often know that never happens. So we have these self-alarms and they go off. And then from the self-alarm stage, you get into what we would call like the danger zone. So this is the point of you falling into a bad habit, and it's creating a negative habit, a negative impact on your life. So you're eating 3, 4 meals a week that aren't on your meal plan, or you're missing 3 or 4 workouts a week, and you're slowly developing this new habit of unhealthy eating and not working out. So your small minor action of missing, so it can snowball too. So if you're eating perfectly on your meal plan and you skip 1 meal, that's a warning sign, right? So that would be a great time that you would contact your coach, or your coach should contact you and they saw that you went off your meal plan, and then you guys address the issue. But if not, you eat one bad meal, it snowballs to the next bad meal, and then you keep on going and going and going. And then you get into the danger zone where you're just constantly in this bad habit of eating off your meal plan, and then it becomes the new normal for you. So then getting back on track is super challenging. So what the best thing to do is to have a plan in place. Again, most of us aren't self-aware enough to have our own plan that we would implement ourselves. So having a response action plan with your coach. So your coach, or whoever your support system is going to help you determine what your warning signs are. So maybe it's, hey, when you miss 3 days of working out, or when you don't check in your weight for 2 consecutive days, we have to implement our reaction plan. And your reaction plan should be something that's personal to you and that allows you to get back on track. So for everyone, it's different. So some of the things that can be, so some people just need a light of positive encouragement to tell them, hey, you got this, keep going. I know we slipped up a little bit, but just keep going. And it just depends. Some people might need a kick in the butt and say, hey, you got to stop it. You got to cut it out. You know what we're doing. You know what you're doing isn't helping you get better, happy, healthy, or fit. So let's knock it off. Or it could be something like resetting and rebuilding that habit. So maybe you set up a challenge with your coach or whatever it may be. But you need some kind of a reaction plan when you slip off and fall off, because without it, you just continue to spiral. So you have the warning signs, you have the danger zone, and then you need to find a way to break the cycle as fast as possible. So when you're planning out the exact scenario and the response plan, what can you do to break the cycle? So you break the cycle the minute you reach out to your support system. So it shouldn't be when you reach out, you guys are talking about a 2-week notice or a 2-week window where you'll break it. It should be on the phone call or on the Zoom meeting or whatever it is, hopefully, or in-person meeting. You guys break the habit right then and there. So immediately breaking the habit. If it's weighing in, you weigh in while you're on your phone call meeting with your coach or whatever it may be, but breaking the cycle and getting your mindset back into the way that you were doing it before when you were successful. And again, it's just being self-aware is so key, because it's not even, you don't even need to be self-aware to help yourself. You need self-aware to ask for help. And it's super simple when you have a coach or a support system or whatever it may be, especially if you're tracking so many different variables and there's so many different ways you can look at different warning signs. So finding those warning signs, avoiding getting into that danger zone, and if it does happen, finding this reaction plan. But you also need to realize like it happened, and then it's time to move on. So be self-aware and tell yourself, I went off, I had my warning signs, I know what happened, I followed my exact reaction plan that I read out with my coach, and then I moved on, and now I'm back on track. So the summary, just to break it down and go over it, would be you have warning signs again. So it can be something very small, it seems like, again, missing a weigh-in. And then from there, those build and compound to where you're in the danger zone of slipping off track and kind of reverting these healthy habits we've been building. And then from there, what we would ideally want to happen is your coach and you recognize that you're in the danger zone, and you react by starting that action plan that you developed together. And whatever that may be for you personally, is a discussion with your coach that you react, and then you rebuild the habit, and you stop it, you break the cycle, and then you're back on track. And it goes for, in the beginning, when you're just starting, it's either one way or the other. So usually, not one way or the other, but it's usually you're either all in or committed, and it's very evident when you break off of your warning signs are evident. So if you're weighing in for 14 days in a row, and I see you didn't weigh in for 3 days in a row, or even 2 days in a row, then I know that something's going on, whether it's life stresses or you're kind of losing involvement. And then we react and we get you back on track, so you know that you can keep being successful. So in the beginning, it can be super evident, especially when the more involved you are with your, whatever your daily check-ins are, or whatever your check-ins are with your coach, it's evident that you're falling off. And on the flip side, when you've been doing it a long time, it can be a little bit harder since you have such a long training history and you've been working at meal plans for a long time, missing a meal here and there. It seems like it could happen a little bit more sporadic, but again, you should have these developed checkpoints to know what your warning signs are, what your danger zone is, and then what your plan is reacting wise, especially when you get to a point where everything is just kind of a habit. Like your healthy lifestyle is a habit. So it's what you do, it's your life that you're living. And it makes it harder to realize when you're falling into that danger zone. So being very specific with whoever your support system is, the longer you do it and having that long constant contact with them so they know exactly where you're at, exactly what you're doing, and what to look for, those warning signs before you get into the danger zone. The thing about having a long training history and have been doing it for 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it may be, is those often go under the radar, and then you slowly are developing these bad habits and you don't even realize it. It could be, oh, you missed Friday workouts for 2, 3 months and it just became the norm. So now you're missing that one extra day of training or whatever it may be, whatever it's every Thursday night you've been going out with your friends drinking and it's hindering your progress, but it's became the norm because you didn't have these checks in places to know that you're falling off and getting into that danger zone to building these bad habits. So I stress to you to start building self-awareness, even if you've been training for 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it may be. Ask yourself questions. It can be as simple as, why am I doing exactly what I'm doing right now? So why am I eating eggs for breakfast? Why am I having a protein shake after my workout? Why am I squatting today? Why am I just walking today? Why am I recovering today? So ask yourself that, have internal dialogue so you can start to build that self-awareness, and then giving yourself ways to understand that you're falling into the danger zone. So warning signs that you can develop that are causing you to slip into a habit or whatever it may be that you don't want to get into. Um, if you have questions about this or want to talk more, let me know. Leave a comment. I'll respond. We can jump on a Zoom call and go over personally and start to develop some of your warning signs and then create a reaction plan that we can specifically act out and carry out if something happens and we notice you're starting to fall into that danger zone. So I will talk to you guys next Saturday around the same time. If there's anything specific you want to talk about solidifying your success for the short and long term, let me know and I'd be glad to cover it for you.